electricity supply even during these hard times.
Phoenix Android TV launch.
A stock in a movie fast. Yani watu wananunua unaachwa nini? 21,799. Android TV yenye remote inaongea.
These promotions will be running from the 15th to the 21st of July.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optiven. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke. Optiven, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
It's a trying time for the world, our country and our people. As Nives, we are committed to safety by fumigating our stores, availing sanitizers, conducting mass testing of our employees, and offering pre-counseling and counseling support. We appreciate our employees for their daily dedication in serving our customers. And since your safety is our safety, in partnership with the Ministry of Health, let's join together in following the set protocols. Wear your mask, sanitize, maintain social distance, and have your temperature checked each time you visit our stores. Naivas saves you money.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Our hands, very precious to us. We use them every single second to eat, to wash, to work, to cook, and to carry things. We touch, pray, and show appreciation and support for others with our hands. And because we are in constant use of our hands, it is easy to unknowingly pass on germs from one place or person to another, and we therefore need to take extra care to clean and moisturize them. Amara antibacterial hand wash contains antibacterial properties to guarantee a thorough cleanse, has natural moisturizers that will leave your hands soft and supple, and is laced with the incredibly fresh scents of lilac and orange. Amara cares.
This is NTV.
Hello there and welcome to NTV Weekend Edition. This Sunday night we bring you a check of the coronavirus cases to begin with. And there are 11.4 million cases of COVID-19 globally, with the global death toll standing at 535,067. Here on the continent, the number of infected people stands at 468,000, while over 11,000 people have died. And in the United States, 2.9 million people have been infected, and the virus has killed over 132,000 people. Here are tonight's top stories.
Tonight,
309 were positive.
The pandemic is far from over, But the failing economy can be just as deadly.
They don't have, as at this moment, the collected figure of total bed capacity.
It's now a common dilemma for the president, but with higher stakes. Also tonight, as the country awaits the president's direction, some Mombasa residents are stretching both their comforts and the rules. Plus, ever wonder how that ended up there? It's more about how government agencies are still poles apart in their operations. And also tonight, when the beautiful game turns ugly. NTV investigates how match fixing has corrupted the world's most popular sport.
This is Weekend Edition with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Thanks very much for joining us. We begin tonight with a look at the coronavirus numbers in the country, and 309 more people tested positive out of a total 4,228 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The national tally now stands at 7,886. One more person succumbed to the virus, bringing the total number of deaths to 160, while 51 more people have recovered to bring the total number of recoveries to 2,287. Well, as always, Nairobi has the highest number of cases with 193. Kajiado has the second highest number of infections with 22. Kiambu 20, Mombasa 18, Makueni 17, Busia 11, Machakos 9, and Nakuru has 8. Nandi has 3 new cases, Turkana 3 and Narok 2, while Nyandarua, Kakamega and Kilifi have a 1 case each. Well, as Kenyans anxiously await to hear from President Uhuru Kenyatta on the way out of the coronavirus restrictions, it turns out a number of Kenyans feel that the travel restrictions and the nighttime curfew should remain in place. This is according to a recent study by research firm Trends and Insights Africa, FIFA. At the same time, health experts have called for a cautious and partial reopening should the president choose to ease the restrictions, as Zainab Ismail reports.
With 24 hours to President Uhuru Kenyatta's address to the nation, a report released by research firm FIFA indicates that a whopping 86% of Kenyans would want the current travel restrictions to remain in place, and 79% are in support of the dusk to dawn curfew, but with less hours.
It is not the best time to reopen. We know the best time to reopen is when the cases are going down, and we are seeing in our case that the number of people infected with COVID is going up. That said, we could consider easing some of the restrictions, and I say this especially with the Nairobi and Mombasa in mind. So most of the other measures need to be kept.
However, 74% of the respondents indicated that the curfew has had a negative impact on their daily earnings, with 61% saying there is a high likelihood that crime will increase as restrictions continue. During a meeting with county governors a month ago, President Kenyatta said his decision will be informed by the level of preparedness in the devolved units. But there is concern on whether all the counties have attained the 300 isolation bed capacity. We understand that only 23 counties have met that target.
Yes, indeed, they don't have, as at this moment, the collected figure of total bed capacity available for COVID patients. In the last summit, the report that most counties were ready. So we presume that most counties actually have this bed capacity of 300, and some have even surpassed that number.
And what will determine the impact is really how prepared we are. I know there has been a talk about the counties getting ready, getting the right number of staff, the right number of beds and facilities and supplies. This is the time that will be tested.
So far, 41 counties out of the 47 have reported cases of the virus, with Nairobi leading with the highest number with 3,725 cases, followed by Mombasa, Busia, Kajiado and Kiambu. The current restrictions due for review tomorrow include a ban on social gatherings, cessation of movements in and out of Nairobi and Mombasa, the 9 to 5 a.m. curfew, closure of schools, and the ban on international travel. The President remains guided by recommendations from a number of quarters led by the National Emergency Response Committee on the pandemic. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Well, for people who once ducked at the sound of a cuff so far away, a number of people are now stretching the levels of comfort and the coronavirus rules. A number of them flocked to the beach in Nyali, Mombasa, eager for a chance to breathe, in anticipation of a relaxation of restrictions that saw beaches shut down 3 months ago. Kevin Mutai has more from Mombasa.
As the country collectively waits to exhale from the coronavirus restrictions, a section of Mombasa residents are so far along on the journey to normalcy that they could be living in a different place. A number of them thronged the Nyali beach to reclaim aspects of their lives and freedoms they haven't experienced since March. The beaches were closed as the country fought off the wave of coronavirus infections.
Kukaa nyumbani sana ileta ma stress, ma pressure, manini. At least every weekend mtu apate kwenda kuenjoy na kila mtu apate riski yake hapa.
Na tunaamini sisi watu wa pwani hii maji ya chumvi yenyewe ni sanitizer tosha. So tunaomba authority tusikize na itufungulie tuendelee na kazi.
This comes at a time when the country is experiencing an increase in the number of coronavirus infections, but these residents say they will find a way to live with it.
Nilikuwa nimetoka nyumbani juu ya kuboweka, hakuna kufanya kazi tu, tuko nyumbani. Sasa huku huwa tunakuja kujivinjari ile kidogo kidogo.
Uchumi ni mbaya, manake watu wamechoka kukaa nyumbani. Naona kwamba kama hali imeregea kama kawaida.
Mombasa is one of the hotspot counties for COVID-19 due to the rising infections, but a number of people seem to be giving up the fight.
Na kama hakuna hatari atufungulie tuende makazi kwa maana tuwaumia sasa hivi.
Kutakuwa na matumaini ya kupata pato lako la siku, manake sasa kama ikiendelea curfew hii corona ikiendelea hakuna kitu tutakuwa tunapa. Manake watu ndo pesa na watu hakuna, kwa hivyo tunakula ngumu hivyo hivyo yani.
The port city is still under containment as the anxiety towards President Kenyatta's speech builds up. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Elsewhere, colleges must test all tutors 2 weeks before learning resumes in September. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha warned that colleges that fail to test their tutors ahead of time would not be allowed to reopen. The CS explained that the biggest challenge in reopening schools as earlier planned was social distancing in those institutions, which he said is now mandatory. All facilities are also required to have running water, soap and sanitizers.
I could be COVID positive as I talk to you now, and I'm as strong as an eagle. When I give it to you, after 2 weeks, you have joined your ancestors. Do you get the point? So I think we agree with you that you arrange to make sure that at least by the time they are opening, they have tested for COVID, at least the previous 2 weeks.
Known as the beautiful game for its grace and traditions of fair play, football, the most popular sport in the world, has an ugly problem: match fixing. The silent epidemic that threatens to kill Kenyan football. Tonight, NTV investigates the complex web of corruption and reveals just how deeply rooted the vice is rooted in the sport. Here's NTV's award-winning journalist Ida Waringa with a special report.
What if all this is a lie? What if this is fixed? Corruption already touches everything in Kenya, so why not sports? More specifically, why not football?
Match fixing iko
hatuwezi sema sisi ni wazuri sana.
Kama mechi imefiksiwa, mashabiki ndio tunaumia.
Nika ile mtoto amekopi exam, unaona? Amepita lakini si yake, kwa hivyo siwezi feel poa.
Una feel down. Eli hata ungekam.
The love of money is the root of all evil.
In Kenyan street lingo, it's known as kutupa game. That translates to throwing a game, what is globally known as match fixing. It's an intricate web that uses match officials and players, often defenders and goalkeepers, to determine the outcome of a match for financial gain.
Some of the players you never thought would be caught up in a scandal had the biggest scandals, very hidden from the public eye.
In February 2020, FIFA banned 4 East African players for manipulation of matches during the 2019 Kenyan Premier League season. 3 of those, Moses Chikati, Festus Okiring, and Festo Omukoto, are Kenyan and were banned for 4 years each. The 4th, George Mandela, a Ugandan, received a life ban.
Turn and pass. Don't just pass anyhow.
All 4 were Kakamega Homeboys FC players that featured in the Kenyan Premier League. The club's owner, Cleophas Shimanyula, was the whistleblower.
Unaona style hilo game inachezwa, unashtuka hii ni mambo gani? Unakuta defender wako ambaye unategemea ndiye anafungia opponent team goal. So mimi nikajiuliza maswali, ilikuwa game karibu mara 3. So nikujiuliza, nikafanya uchunguzi wangu wa kutosha, nikapata kwamba kumbe hii watu wanalipwa, wachezaji wanalipwa, kocha analipwa.
It highlights our game very badly because now people begin viewing Kenya as a match-fixing nation.
The murmurs of match-fixing in the KPL keep growing louder.
A lot of match-fixing, na most of hizo match-fixing, our cartels ambao wanafanya match-fixing wanatutarget sisi watu wa media. They offer at least 5,000 USD, ambayo ni kama $500,000, so hiyo ni pesa nyingi sana.
And with the stakes so high, then physical harm is a reality.
They threaten you ukienda kwa uwanja. Kuna wakati nilikata kumanipulate games soni wakanipiga mawe. It's becoming rampant mpaka sasa tumeanza kuogopa. We are fearing for our lives.
Eli Kalekwa, popularly known as Presda, is the founding owner of 2009 KPL champions Sofapaka. Kalekwa, who has been a fixture on the Kenyan football scene for the last 16 years, almost fell victim to suspected match fixers from Singapore, who posed as sponsors but who made curious demands before the signing of a 1-year deal in June 2019.
1 year wakatuambia 30 million. Lakini kwa hiyo tuko na condition ambayo company ilikuwa inaitwa Living Trade. Condition tuko nayo, tutawaleta kuna some players international because tunataka team ambayo iko strong. Tutawaletea international players au hawako kwenye, na sisi benyewe ndio tutakuwa tunawalipa. Na tutawaletea professional coach.
Majority of those players were from Uganda.
Tukaanza kuwaona suspect. Mchezaji mmoja alijitolea. Akakuja akaniambia bali mu propose. Bampe pesa. Sijui alikuwa anampatia 200,000 Kenya money shillings.
A cash-strapped Sonny Sugar FC, which was relegated from the KPL this season due to handing out 3 walkovers, also had a brush with suspected match fixers, who had also posed as sponsors from Singapore.
Sony, bakatu propose tuende tucheze na Sony. Kaambia bana. Friendly. Sisi tuko na Sony kwenye liga, tutacheza na Sony na hapana.
5 months ago, KPL outfit Zoo FC released 7 players from its books with accusations of match fixing. Both Sony and Zoo FC officials declined NTV Sports' request for comment. Outspoken owner of KPL Moneybags Wazito FC has also taken to social media to raise questions about match fixing in Kenya's top flight league.
And all this must be backed with evidence. In the event that we don't have evidence, definitely you cannot pick up a case. But if we have evidence, then that's a criminal offense. And in the world of football, we do not expect people to be engaged in match manipulation and match fixing.
Match fixing kwa Kenya na tukusaidiwa na federation, hata KPL kutusaidia, because wao wote tulikuwa tukiongea na wao wanatuambia ongeeni na federation. Tukiongea na federation hakuna barua tuliandika kama 20, hakuna hata moja tulijibiwa.
While KPL and the Football Kenya Federation seem to be blindsided by the scourge of match fixing in the country, the world governing body FIFA appears to have its hand on the pulse.
There are three main statutes that FIFA has dealing with corruption, bribery, and match fixing. So that's the FIFA Disciplinary Code, the FIFA Code of Ethics, and the FIFA Code of Conduct.
The stain of match fixing goes to the very highest level of football in the country, touching on the national football team, the Harambee Stars. Former Harambee Stars defender George Wise Owino remains the most high-profile proven case of match fixing. Owino was handed a 10-year ban from all football-related activities by the World Football Governing Body FIFA for match fixing, as well as a 1.5 million shillings fine.
Ni hujuma kwa mashabiki, ni hujuma. Ni hujuma. I just say ni hujuma. I think that guy just killed it. Yeah.
Being somebody who played with Wise, who has played with Wise in the national team, I'm finding that really hard to believe. I've tried to recall the few matches that we played together. I've tried, to go back and see whether there was an incident where I think maybe he might have done, anything to help the opponents win. But honestly, I can't go back. I can't get that moment. I cannot get it.
Wise was heavily linked to Singaporean Wilson Raj Perumal, one of the world's most notorious match fixers. Perumal has admitted to having strong ties with both the Kenyan and Nigerian football federations at the time.
I can recall...
NTV spoke to an insider in the previous Kenyan football administration who interacted with Perumal during his visits to Kenya.
I met Wilson around 2009 at Safari Park Hotel in a company of ex-Football Kenya Limited by then officials. And he had organized a meeting requesting to get a letter from FKF, an authority letter from Football Kenya Limited to become a FIFA licensed match agent. In that meeting was former FKF top brass officials and a referees committee chairman at that particular time. What he wanted was to organize some 2 friendly matches with the Harambee Stars in Bahrain and in Yemen.
Nation Sport obtained email transcripts showing Perumal and Owino conspiring to influence the result of at least 14 international matches involving Kenya and trying to recruit other players to fix games. The World Cup qualifier between Kenya and Nigeria in 2009 was among the 14 that the Singaporean had a direct hand in influencing. The Super Eagles' 3-2 win guaranteed Nigeria a World Cup ticket. Our source would meet Perumal again before the Nile Basin Football Tournament, which was a 7 Nations Football Championship in 2011 contested in Egypt. Kenya's dismal results of just 1 win in 4 games served only to worsen the country's FIFA rankings, begging the question of just why the Harambee Stars participated in the first place.
That was the first contact between the Federation and Wilson, as they called him. That was the second time he also sought for a letter authorizing him to take care of the national team.
Questions arise over the remedial measures meted out on those guilty of match fixing. With the Ministry of Sports pushing a bid to criminalize doping, should match manipulation also attract a similar penalty?
It's not a criminal affair, it's not a civil affair, so you can't arrest these people and take them to court. If he's already stopped playing, he's retired, what are you going to do to a man who most likely does not want to come back to football? And also trying to get him to pay that 1 million Kenyan bob, a bit tough. How can you get the state to intervene and pay a fine to a private organization, which is what FIFA is? Tough.
In a statement to NTV, the World Football Governing Body says, In line with its zero-tolerance approach to match manipulation, FIFA has also further strengthened sanctions against anyone found guilty of match fixing recently. Anyone found guilty will be subject to severe sanctions, which include a minimum ban of 5 years. In the early 80s, Kenya's quest to qualify for the 1984 Olympics ended at the hands of Libya. Harambee Stars, then under coach Marshall Mulwa, won the first leg played in Nairobi 1-0 but lost the return leg 2-0 in Tripoli. Decades later, this match is clouded with controversy.
If you are able to don the national colors, then one is supposed to know that it is life or death. For free, we will do it, just like the armed forces. And I stand to be corrected.
A notion that veteran sports journalist Roy Gashohe disagrees with.
Calls to patriotism are misplaced. How will you be patriotic and you've got no food on the table? You've got families. You've got loved ones to support. You've got yourself to support to begin with. You can't eat patriotism. You can't pay school fees with patriotism.
Most recently, Harambee Stars' unexpected 4-1 semi-final loss to Minnows Eritrea in the 2019 CECAFA Senior Challenge Cup was a result that raised eyebrows.
What about referees? Situations on the pitch have shown that refs can have huge impact on possible match outcomes, sometimes even bigger than the players themselves, which in turn makes the match officials prime candidates for possible corruption.
16th September 2012, Chemelil Sugar versus Oserian FC, a Kenyan Premier League match that ended 1-1 and is a prime example of match fixing in the top flight by match officials. NTV Sport has obtained affidavits drawn by the Commissioner of Oaths and confirmed by the game's second assistant referee, admitting that he received 10,000 shillings, roughly $100, colloquially termed as lunch, from one of the team's then technical directors.
I called the referee who was given the money. He denied, but fortunately, had got the money transaction. And I told him, my friend, this is the proof that you are giving the money. Are you still insisting you are not given 10,000 shillings?
This was to help the side get a win that would help their survival chances. The assistant referee states that he did not disclose this to the other match officials. Something the center referee seconds in his own declaration, while stating his shock when the state director called him demanding for his money back after the stalemate result. The second assistant referee, who was bribed to fix the game 8 years ago, still continues to officiate matches in Kenya. Fast forward 6 years later, and bribery ended the career of Kenya's topmost referee.
What are your thoughts about Aden Marwa? What do you think about him?
Now for that one, the one for Marwa,
talk about it.
please, tafadhali tuna, wacha tuachane.
Aden Marwa was to become the first Kenyan referee to officiate at a World Cup in 2018. Months before the showpiece, however, Marwa was filmed in a BBC investigative documentary receiving a 60,000 shillings bribe, roughly $600, to allegedly fix matches during the Africa Nations Championship, CHAN, in Morocco.
It's me who developed Marwa. I discovered Marwa's talent again in Germany. I was his match commissioner. And I mentored Marwa. Marwa is such a humble teacher. Believe you me, until I eventually got that thing and ran through the whole thing, I totally denied because I could not equate Marwa with such incident.
Consequently, Marwa was handed a life ban from all football-related activities by CAF.
I have tried to reach Marwa many times. He's not picking my call.
The chemistry teacher turned referee is alleged to have taken a 60,000 Kenyan shillings bribe, but he lost out on 2.5 million shillings, roughly $25,000, that he would have made as a World Cup match official.
Why should you destroy your future? Waribu future yako sababu ya shilingi kidogo. Lakini sasa shida yako nini? Tamaa. Sasa hii tamaa mbaya tukimaliza, tucheze tu game clean.
NTV tried to reach Marwa, but he was unavailable.
Incredible revelations there by Ida Waringa. The football con continues after this break. To stay with us on NTV.
I'm here for small biasharas, in my hood or beyond. I'm here for my customers, Kuwa sort every time they come through. Put your business on the map with Visa. Where you shop matters.
Mikono juu. Sasa ruka.
Nini? Ulikuwa tayari kuchangamka? Si ungesema.
Changamkia vipindi vipendavyo, vichekesho, muziki, habari za utendeti na mengine mengi. Jioni YouTube na Tenbo. Dial *544# and select YouTube.
The risk of illness-causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach, and use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, JIC, and HAPIC.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optiven. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke. Optiven, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
When they take away from you what you love the most, and they hurt you in your soul. Hey! Then your heart hardens and it refuses to love again. But a promise.
My child, promise me you'll go to California. Make peace with your mother.
Can give some hope. And even the coldest heart.
Who are you? And what are you doing here?
Can love again.
In the local context, a centre referee officiating in the top tier or Kenyan Premier League earns 7,500 shillings per game, while National Super League or second tier referees take home 5,500 shillings per match, this according to the FKF. and their already meager salaries are delayed, sometimes for months on end. Naturally, this can leave the match officials open to the temptation of corruption.
And therefore, you cannot say now, because there's a delay in remittance of your money, that there's a problem.
But what about the effect of being paid off by the clubs? Do you think that that undermines the level or quality of officiating?
So let me tell you something, Ida. We have said to the referees, your money is coming. In the next 2 weeks, we shall pay you. But paying you in the next 2 weeks does not mean that we should not accumulate some 5 matches here and there going forward. You know that's how that career is. You know this would, and if you cannot do it, please say to us you cannot do it, and stay away from it.
For the sake of the viewer, Nick,
yes,
are there specific cases you can give of referees who've been stopped by the FKF for bad officiating?
In beginning 2018, we stopped 4 referees from doing their job for 6 months. It was actually an executive order that we gave.
Marwa may have been caught and banned, but he isn't the only top Kenyan referee suspected to have manipulated matches internationally.
When he requested for referees from Kenya, FIFA referees from Kenya, to officiate in a World Cup warm-up match between South Africa and Colombia in Johannesburg, Federation also appointed 3 referees on his behest. He said he's the one who's going to take care of their expenses and air tickets. That the Kenyan referees awarded 2 penalties, which were saved by the goalkeeper, and they were retaken against Colombia, showing signs of match manipulation. And FIFA started doing investigations on those 3 Kenyan referees, who got wind of the investigations from FIFA and resigned. One in particular, when they came back, investigations from FIFA found out that he had bought a farm in Kitale and 2 tractors.
How big of a role, if any, does sports betting play in match fixing in Kenya?
Za M-Pesa wakapata transaction zote vile inakuwa vile wanabet walipata kila kitu. Bet company inakuja inasema na sponsor teams. Kumbe wao wamekuja biashara ya kutafuta hizo hela kwa njia yote.
Sports betting is just cancer. If there's a way of banning it, that is the engine that drives this culture. That's the engine that drives manipulation of games.
In a past interview with NTV, CEO of former top betting firm SportPesa contradicted such claims.
When it comes to match fixing, you also have to look at it this way. As a betting company, we are the ones who have everything to lose if matches are fixed. So match fixing, for me right now, I don't think it will be a problem, because I believe if anybody was going to fix the matches, they would have done it already. In fact, in the league, the officials, none of them are allowed to bet. Remember, we have all the phone number records, so we have their numbers. So first of all, they're not allowed to bet.
So I want to be clear that it is not betting companies normally who do match fixing. It is the people who want to win money from betting companies.
With the uptake of online betting on sports in Kenya over the last decade, Kenyan football seems to have caught the eye of the bookmakers in the infamous Asian betting scene. Notorious international match fixer Promotional was from Singapore. The 2 companies that posed as sponsors for Sony Sugar FC and Sofapaka FC with an aim to fix KPL matches were also found to have roots in Singapore.
Tuliwatake mpaka huko kwao, hawa sema Singapore huko, yes, ikakuwa kwa magazeti ya huko na majina yao, wakasema kwanza ule mmoja ni criminal kabisa, huyo wa mambo ya match fixing, yeah.
And bets are now not just placed on win, lose or draw results, but also on goals scored in a match, goals conceded, and such like variables which further erode the integrity of the sport.
Ukienda kwenye games hizi ambazo ziko mbali, ambazo journalists unakuwa peke yako, kama hizi za Chemelil, Sony, unapata uwanjani uko peke yako. So some people approach you, wanapost kitu inaitwa live updates. As in game inavyoendelea kutendeka, mimi nazidi kupost. So if bao itaingia, mimi nitapost tu in a few minutes. So what these people want is they tell you, delay at least 5 minutes. Kuwa ile bao ikiingia, you tell them first, alafu baadaye ndo update kama 7 minutes. The catch is, ukidelay kama 5 minutes, wao wanaweza kuplace bets kuwa the next team will score.
While greed would be the quick answer to why match manipulation is so prevalent, it's important to analyze the problem at its core.
You can't make a living out of sport if you are an African. That is the problem. So we need to fix the environment within sport. And it's not just football, it's every sport. Where you can play, you can be a professional, and you can earn a basic, comfortable wage to live and make a livelihood of.
The government needs to understand that investing in young people is one of the best things it could ever do. Sports can be a bulwark against big national problems.
And as much as it may hurt for the fans who have invested in the game, the financial pain of match fixing might be even more for team authorities involved.
Mimi nakwambia tunaumia kwa sababu tunatumia pesa. Kurun team sio mchezo. Kama kwa mfano Kakamega Homeboys tunalipa mshahara kila mwezi ni 1.5 million. Ukipiga hata kwa miezi 10 ni 15 million. Hujaweka accommodation, hujaweka transport.
From club to national level, current times to past generations, the scourge of match manipulation seems to have ingrained itself into the fabric of Kenyan football, leaving an ugly yet often invisible stain. It's here that the alleged fixed World Cup qualifier between Kenya and Nigeria took place. Well over a decade later, and the problem ensues. In light of recent national corruption scandals, protecting the integrity of sport should be a key agenda given top priority by relevant stakeholders. Ida Warenga, NTV Investigates.
The football con there on NTV Investigates by NTV's Ida Waringa. Some responses here from you on Twitter. Brian Kandia, you say match fixing is a cancer in football. If a solution to this can't be found, then football in Kenya will never grow. Another response here, Chris Kirwa, you say, Ida Waringa, great work you and NTV Kenya are doing for sports. The football con is a great undercover story and it will go a long way in cleaning up football in Kenya and see us climb from the shameful FIFA rankings to the top. We excel in many sports. Football needs to excel too. And another response that I came across here, Dan Kurgat, you say the only way of ending match fixing in Kenya is to have better pay for both players and match officials. Again, FIFA should perhaps introduce sentencing other than 5-year bans. And Jeffy, you say the selection of the national team players has always been questionable. Somebody else, Karomindo, you say, bro, the football con makes me wonder if my team is also participating in such. Well, thanks very much for your feedback. Plenty more of it. Check out the hashtag #TheFootballCon on Twitter to read some of those responses. All right, at this point, we're taking another break on NTV Weekend Edition. Do stay with us. I'll be back in just a moment.
Oya ni aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya bail into the freshest igi kosi yote. Siri ni hii Ariel mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer unaisana na hii story. Ninatumia Ariel touch of down mpya tu.
So vile nasema, wacha nikubatie statistics. Niko na gamia 1500, tunakuwa drapo gamia na kuwa 6000. 2000 natengeneza leather, natengeneza viatu, wallet, kibeti, nauza hapa, na batia wewe 50%. Wacha niweke credit nikupigie.
Namna gani wewe? Hii mambo ya kuishiwa na credit kila saa? Come on. Nunua hiyo simu ya Vodafone. Calling fiber to fiber is 0 shillings per minute. And it is not expensive. Only 2,999 Kenya shillings.
Hali wa. Hata fadhali hiyo credit ikae ninunue simu basi.
Faibika leo na Vodafone for only 2,999 Kenya shillings. It will always be free to call fiber to fiber.
Wa Kenya, hii fight hatukuchagua, lakini tuko na choice. Tuchague kujilinda. Tuchague kuprotect familia zetu. Tuchague usafi, kuosha mikono, kuosha manyumba zetu, ndio tulinde watoto wetu, na tuvae mask. Future yetu iko mikononi mwetu. Kenya, let's do it for the ones we love.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
When they take away from you what you love the most, and they hurt you in your soul,
Hey!
then your heart hardens and it refuses to love again. But a promise.
My child, promise me you'll go to California. Make peace with your mother.
Can give some hope. And even the coldest heart.
Who are you? And what are you doing here?
Can love again.
This is Weekend Edition with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Deputy President William Ruto is fighting the battle of his life as those opposed to his presidential ambitions gang up against him. The president has openly ignored his deputy and assigned some duties to more junior staff. But as NTV's senior political affairs reporter now tells us, the DP is too rallying his base and calling for patience and calm. He spoke to an analyst to dissect the DP's future.
It is almost truism that Deputy President William Ruto has fallen out of favor with President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's now crafting new friendships ahead of 2022. He now has to pick himself up and chart a different course to the presidency, which until 2017 was a clear path. The president has recently brought on board opposition figures Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka and KANU party leader Gideon Moi into the fold, leaving the DP out in the cold.
The DP handlers, especially in the last 2 years, made him appear, and impressions are very important, as if we were talking about co-presidents in this country, rather than one president assisted by a deputy. And when it became clear that this is how things were, then, Uhuru's handler said, look, the sword was only given to one person.
But this isolation also means that on a number of occasions, the president has bypassed his principal assistant and assigned duties to other junior staff. Such duties include international missions. In the latest slap on the DP's face, the president has sent Baringo Senator and KANU chairperson Gideon Moi to represent him in the inauguration of Malawi's new president Lazarus Chakwera. Last week, Suna East MP and National Assembly Minority Whip Junet Mohamed and President Kenyatta's maternal uncle George Muhoho traveled to Jubaland on behalf of the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga. Last month, Foreign Affairs Chief Administrative Secretary Ababu Namwamba was in Burundi to represent President Kenyatta for the inauguration of President Evariste Ndayishimiye.
There may be argument and reasons why he's decided to choose people like Junet, people like Namwamba, and others to present him on what is called state functions, rather than him when he himself cannot do it.
But why not send his deputy?
He has the prerogative. He's the president. And in international law, especially the Vienna Convention, he is allowed as a president to send a special envoy. He can choose any one of them.
Upendo wa Mungu wetu ni wa ajabu, waweza kwenda juu, waweza kwenda chini, waweza kwenda mbele.
But as the ground shifts under his feet, the deputy president has re-emerged from behind the scenes and has been making his presence felt in a number of projects mostly touching on the youth. The DP has also set out to consolidate leaders allied to his cause and is asking those kicked out of committees to hold on.
Tukivumilia kidogo, Mungu atatusaidia na atafungua njia ya sisi kuendesha siasa ambayo haina mambo ya migawanyiko ama ukabila.
He will have an uphill really contest if he goes alone, because I don't think other than parts of Rift Valley and parts of Central, he would enjoy as much credit as he would have enjoyed elsewhere in the country.
But even as the deputy president continues to be hit from every corner, he still insists that his march for the 2022 elections is still on, as he still insists that he is going to make new friendships that are going to win him that election. Kennedy Muredi, NTV in Nairobi County.
Now, the term deaf as a post may have a whole new meaning to you if you've seen this. It's an electricity pole stuck in the middle of a well-done road. So, how does it end up there? Well, Gina Kirori reports on the push and pull between agencies tasked with infrastructure and how dangerous it can be for residents who have to navigate them on a daily basis.
Road workers usually have a lot on their plate, but it's hard to see how this glaring mistake in Taita Taveta went unnoticed. An electricity pole cemented in the most unusual of places, right in the middle of the road. But such omissions have seemed too commonplace. In Nairobi's Pipeline Estate, the power and washing lines come dangerously close to crisscrossing as this transformer sits awfully near homes. And if this wooden aged pole in Gong Town could speak, it would likely tell of how it has undergone tough times after cement and water combined to form a road around it. Now such errors are not just an obstruction, but a danger.
Hakuna barabara, expansion yake sio vizuri. Na unapata line za stima zenyewe, unapata ni waya ziko aina coated. So unapata mara mingi ziko karibu na nyumba.
Hiyo posti ya stima iko kwa barabara, katikati kwa barabara, ambapo kuna shida. Juzi kuligonga motorbike hapo na mtoto. So tungeomba serikali Kenya Power hiyo posti itoke hapo kama itawezekana kwa mara moja.
Dan Obiro, an engineer in charge of power systems, design and development at Kenya Power, explains how power lines end up in the middle of the road.
What usually happens is when the road, we call them road contractors, they normally want to coerce us to move poles when they're expanding or building a new road. So they normally apply for this, then we give them a quotation, and in good time we remove the poles so that the roads can be done according to their standards. But in some instances you find that a pole can be in the middle of the road, yet the contractor is not applied.
While the oddity of an electricity pole in the middle of the road has been normalized for residents, there is in fact nothing normal about it. The supremacy battles that continue on between those tasked with providing electricity and roads threaten to bring an even greater risk to families such as Stephen Kangangi's, who may not be so lucky next time around. Gena Kirari, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, from that, it's time for another break on NTV Weekend Edition. But first, check out this marvelous firework display near the National Mall in Washington. Colors lit up the night sky during the 2020 Salute to America event in honor of Independence Day on July 4th. Well, this year, however, the United States marked an unusually somber Independence Day due to the coronavirus pandemic. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go far.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
Explorers of the night, wale wase wa kuhustle usiku, kustreama movies, music mix diehards and gaming fanatics. We've heard you. It is now your time to fly your flag high. Do what you love, mpaka che na Telkom. Join Usiku Sako with Telkom night bundles that allow you rule the night at prices you love. Join our tribe, Usiku Sako Squad. Just dial *544# from your Telkom line and select the night bundle of your dreams. You are the legend the night needs.
Are you living a blessed life? Get this and more Christian music only on Angaza Music, Africa's first exclusive gospel service. In addition to music, get your best Bible stories, preachings and devotionals, church services, DJ mixes and more. Get Angaza Music for 10 shillings daily plus 50 MB data bundle. Dial *544#, then select option 6 on your Safaricom line. Angaza Music, Baraka Mkononi.
Nairobi courts go digital. Starting July 1st, 2020, all new cases in Nairobi will be filed electronically. In line with Chief Justice David Maraga's blueprint focusing on automation of the judiciary, Nairobi courts have now adopted an e-filing system. The platform enables law firms, advocates and wananchi to file cases online. Advocates will no longer visit courts to file or banking halls to pay court fees. Starting July 1st, 2020, the following services will be available: e-case registration, e-payment, e-case search, e-calendar, e-service. All are advised that no more manual filing will be allowed in Nairobi. The e-filing system is accessible through the Judiciary website, www.judiciary.go.ke. Sustaining Judiciary Transformation, a service delivery agenda.
Thanks for staying with us. Nairobi Chapel has defended the ownership of the parcel of land that the church sits on, even as the government prepares to recover and reclaim thousands of acres of land that it says was irregularly hived off the Ngong forest. Here's Victor Kiprop with that report.
It was a massive forest.
The original size of this forest when it was declared 1932, 7,000 acres. As we speak now, the balance is less than 1,000.
Now the government says it is revoking all the documents and allocations made after 1978 when the forest was 3,274 acres big, except for those validly excised for public purpose.
Wildlife Stats of Kenya.
In a process that could hit both corrupt land grabbers and legitimate unsuspecting buyers. The Nairobi Chapel, one of the 3 churches that are expected to be affected in the reclamation, says it legally acquired the land 20 years ago and it has documents to prove it.
We wrote to the government and particularly to the Ministry of Environment and asked them whether this was part of the Ngong forest, and we have in our possession a letter from the Ministry of Environment stating clearly that this is not forest land. We then wrote to the Ministry of Lands as we were following the process of purchasing the property
and they assured us that the titles were genuine.
The Ministry of Environment, however, says the documents held by the landowners are just papers.
For us, we really will not bother ourselves now taking anybody. Whoever has a purported title knows that that title is not worth the paper it's written on. So we will proceed immediately to start fencing.
The reclamation plan will see the forest fenced and connected to the Nairobi National Park in order to mitigate pressure facing wildlife at the severely stressed park. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
All right, now Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi and his Ford Kenya counterpart Moses Wetangula today took their unity campaign to Busia in what was also an effort to popularize themselves as the voice of the community. At the same time, another team led by Devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa and Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya was also in Western Kenya to woo the region to the president's side and accused the Mudavadi faction of standing in the way of development. Zakes Mwasame is still on the elusive unity quest.
That is the same spirit.
ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula were today accompanied by a host of leaders in Busia County, where they called on the community's elders to lead efforts to bring the community together ahead of 2022.
Kura zote zianguke katika kikapu kimoja. Tukishika hivi, ndio tutakuwa na uwezo wa kwenda kutongoza wengine wakiona sisi kikapu yetu imejaa.
The people of Western Kenya, you will never walk alone. The people of Kenya, you will never walk alone.
But on the other hand, the leaders hit out at the faction led by Devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa and Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, accusing them of standing in the way of the community's elusive unity.
Hawa ni political brokers. Kwa sababu sheria Political Parties Act is very clear. Lazima uwe na chama ndio uwanie kiti cha urais.
Tumechoka na narrative ya viongozi wetu kuwa branded watu wa Ruto. That is a tired old narrative.
Na sisi 2022 ni Mluya mmoja tu atakuwa kwa ballot paper. Hatutakubali Waluya wawili wakuwe kwa ballot paper.
Raundi hii tumekataa. Tulicheza tibi mtialala. Saa hii a big no.
But Wamalwa says the region should have a share of the national development cake, and aligning with the president will benefit them.
Within 24 hours of a meeting with the president, serikali ilitangaza kutupilia mbali deni ya kampuni zote za sukari 62 billion.
The leaders also blamed the police for using excessive force after Lugari MP Ayub Savla was arrested and detained briefly at the Mias police station for breaching social distancing rules.
Tunataka demokrasi idumishwe. Hata kama haupendi wazo langu, una haki kuniambia.
Zakes Masame, NTV, Busia.
Moses, ambaye ni wafuti.
Now, as late as 8 p.m. today, the national government was prepared to ease movement in the country to an extent. In your Daily Nation tomorrow, find out why the national government now wants county governments to take up the responsibility and political risk of lifting the lockdowns and what the health experts think of that decision. Don't miss your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow. And now the sports news is coming up, but first, ever heard of pink snow? Well, in the north of Italy, pink snow was observed on parts of the Presena glacier. The phenomenon is apparently caused by algae that develops when snow melts, simultaneously coloring the ice a darker color. In a vicious cycle, the algae in turn increases the rate at which the snow melts by accelerating the absorption of radiation. What a sight. Coming up with the sports after this.
This is where you belong. Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optiven. This gated community is fully developed, filled with ultra-modern value additions such as Maram roads, electricity, solar street lighting, water, 24/7 security, and trees planted in every plot. Victory Gardens is close to high-end international schools, banks, shopping malls, hospitals, and much more. This is a masterpiece project. Invest in value. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optiven.co.ke. Optiven, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
When they take away from you what you love the most, and they hurt you in your soul,
Hey!
then your heart hardens and it refuses to love again. But a promise,
My child, promise me you'll go to California. Make peace with your mother.
can give some hope. And even the coldest heart
Who are you? And what are you doing here?
can love again.
Welcome to the sports news. Athletics Kenya says a collaboration with county governments is one sure way of ensuring sports facilities are refurbished and functional for sports people. Based on this, AK Vice President Paul Mutui says the Federation will engage Garissa County Government to discuss the construction of a modern running track. Mutui hopes that the Northeastern National Polytechnic in Garissa can host the running track. According to Mutui, the lack of basic training facilities has held back the region. Mutui was speaking as AK donated foodstuff to some 50 athletes who were preparing for the now postponed World Athletics Under-20 Championship, which was due in Nairobi this month.
As AK, we are likely going to ask the county government of Garissa to come up and try to have at least one perfect kind of running facility. That's a track. And this one at the Polytechnic, seeing it because we have gone round, we have seen that it requires just a little bit. It requires putting a little bit of money.
Now, 5,000 meters women's world champion Helen Obiri's perch at the top is a product of hard work by the 30-year-old. But her coach Sami Masharia's role cannot be disregarded. Coach Masharia spoke to NTV Sport about that journey.
Nimeanza na Helen Obiri akiwa msichana mchanga kabisa, kijana chipukizi, na alipokuwa shule ya upili hapa Riruta, Nairobi, na tulianza pamoja, na Obiri akawa ni mwanariadha ambaye alikuwa na umakinifu mkubwa na nidhamu yake ni ya ajabu. Tukaanza polepole, nikaanza kumpatia mwongozo katika mazoezi yake, akatilia maanani, akawa na nidhamu yake. Baada ya hapo tukamwelekeza mpaka kule kwenda kujipatia kazi kwenye anafanya katika kikosi cha wanahewa kule na Nyuki. Baada ya hapo tukaendelea na mazoezi, na ndiye huyo akaweza kufika ile level ya kuonekana na wale managers, akawa amejiunga na pace management, na huko ndio ambapo amejiendeleza mpaka leo. Tunajua yeye ni bingwa sio tu peke yake katika viwanja vya nje, bali pia viwanja vya ndani. Amekuwa bingwa pia katika mashindano ya mbio za nyika, na vile vile amekuwa pia katika mashindano ya Olimpiki, na utakuta ni nadra sana kupata mwanariadha ambaye ametia fora katika viwanja vya ndani, mashindano ya viwanja vya ndani, vya nje, mbio za nyika, na Obiri bado ako na mwelekeo.
Now, Real Madrid maintained their 100% win record since the restart of the Spanish La Liga in June with a 1-0 win at Athletic Bilbao. Sergio Ramos scored his 22nd consecutive penalty as Real Madrid held on for another 1-0 win to inch closer to winning La Liga. Ramos's 5th goal in 7 games since the restart gives Madrid a 7-point lead over Barcelona, who play later tonight at inform Villarreal.
11 of the season. We're talking about this possibly being Real Madrid's year. We're talking about it being Zinedine Zidane's La Liga title. We've had experts here saying it's going to be Benzema's title. It's going to be Sergio Ramos's title if they go on to win it, Graham.
He's an extraordinary man, an extraordinary leader, almost fearless, almost nervous. When he makes mistakes, he gets over them. But if you offer him a sniff at something in a pressure moment, these days now particularly, he very rarely fails. I make that now 1, 2, 3, 4.
English Premier League champions Liverpool beat Aston Villa 2-0 at Anfield to move closer to 100 points. Sadio Mane scored the first goal for the Reds in the 71st minute. Curtis Jones celebrated a new long-term contract with his first Premier League goal 1 minute from stoppage time. Defeat for Aston Villa means they remain in the relegation zone in 18th, 1 point adrift of safety and still searching for their first win since the Premier League was restarted. The Reds now have 89 points. In other results, Burnley drew 1-1 with Sheffield United, while Newcastle United played a 2-2 draw against West Ham United. Tonight, Southampton welcomes former champions Manchester City at St Mary's Stadium.
Off they go quickly with Berger and Osborne. In towards Sharp. Where's this dropping? It's in! It's John Egan! Noble comes short. Bowen hits it to the far post where Rice climbs above everybody and it's swept in by Souček. An ugly goal.
Finland's Valtteri Bottas drove his Mercedes to victory in the coronavirus-delayed season-opening Formula One Grand Prix in Austria. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was second in an action-packed race which saw 14 of the 20 drivers take a knee on the grid in an anti-racism stance. Lando Norris in a McLaren secured a first-ever podium finish in third, ahead of world champion and fellow Briton Lewis Hamilton in the second Mercedes.
And then Hamilton's got nowhere to go. He's come off the brake, he's touched him and round he's went, and here you can see, I mean, Lewis knows he's there, but there's nothing he can do at this point. But at the same point, you know, you've got to give a penalty for that because that cost Albon, you know.
You know, that's Brazil. Yeah, you're just depressing me now, just bringing all this up.
We don't want to depress you, but what we do want to ask is the other side of the question.
And the sports news brings NTV Weekend Edition to a close this Sunday night. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Flora Atieno has been our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Enjoy the rest of your night. Zainab Ismail will be with you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Good night.